Welcome to GroundRules. As we head towards month end, the fresh produce markets are expected to enjoy a stronger trading week, supported by improved consumer demand. But here's another story quietly unfolding in the background, right? Could this unusually warm winter flood the markets with produce earlier than expected, therefore putting pressure on prices during August and September? Well, we will unpack that and much more in today's episode. But before we dive in, we are excited to share that GroundRules has partnered with AMT to bring South Africa's trusted agricultural market intelligence to an even wider audience. While AMT continues delivering its renowned market updates in Afrikaans, GroundRules is proud to bring you the English edition, drawing on the same trusted AMT data and insights that producers across the country have relied on for years. Now, let's get into this. I am going to sit nice and tight and bring you this week's fresh produce market update. Let's start with potatoes. The average potato price eased 4% last week to reach 60.74 rand per 10 kilogram bag. We have seen extra large Class 1 mondials trading at 62 per kilogram, large Class 1 mondials averaging 76 rand per 10 kilogram bag, medium Class 1 mondials declined to 58 rand per 10 kilogram bag. Even after last week's pullback, potato prices remain 27% higher than a year ago, while the volumes are still about 2% lower. Looking ahead, this week could be more positive. Demand usually improves as we approach month end, and the current market supplies are relatively tight. Harvesting in the Eastern Free State is virtually complete, while the producers around Christiana and Douglas are focusing more on seed potatoes as well as processing, rather than supplying the fresh produce market. That means markets are starting this week with a relatively low carryover stock. Prices may strengthen slightly, but do not expect any dramatic increases. There is something, however, worth keeping an eye on later this year. The exceptionally warm winter conditions could result in larger northern harvests arriving earlier than usual and potentially placing significant downward pressure on potato prices towards the end of the year. Moving over to tomatoes. Tomatoes have experienced one of the biggest price corrections this week. Average prices dropped 16% to 11.12 rand per kilogram, while volumes increased by 6%. Exactly as we expected, the warm winter is accelerating ripening, meaning more tomatoes are reaching the market much sooner than normal. And when supply increases faster than demand, prices usually come under pressure. Stronger month-end demand could provide some short-term support this week, but overall, the outlook for August remains bearish, with continued downward pressure expected as more supplies enters the market. Now, when we move over to onions, we have seen that onion prices softened last week. The average price declined 12% to reach 90.91 rand per 10 kilograms. Current market averages include brown Class 1 medium onions at 121 rand, white Class 1 medium onions at 110 rand, red Class 1 medium onions at 204 rand per 10 kilograms. A temporary production gap in Limpopo continues to support prices for now. While we've got the stronger month-end demand, is also anticipated to help with the market over the next few days. However, same as potatoes, with the warmer winter, we could see an acceleration of onion production in the northern regions, right? Bringing larger volumes to the market sooner than usual. One interesting development, though, is that more potatoes were actually planted in certain northern areas after the wet spells delayed onion planting. So if potato production occupies more land over the coming months, it could help the onion prices remain firmer than they otherwise would have been. Moving over to carrots, the carrot prices slipped 7% to reach 5.67 rand per kilogram. We have seen improved market activity this week, providing some temporary support. However, the broader outlook remains unchanged. As additional volumes enter the market over the next 2 months, carrot prices are expected to continue to trend lower. Sweet pepper prices remained relatively stable overall, increasing just 2% to 17 Rand 71 cents per kilo. Green pepper prices fell 4% to 9 Rand 65. Yellow peppers declined 14% to 41 Rand, and red peppers increased 5% to reach 36 Rand per kilogram. Overall, pepper prices are still expected to remain relatively firm through August. But as the warmer weather stimulates production, larger harvests could reach the markets earlier than normal, therefore bringing prices down sooner than we typically expect. Elsewhere in the vegetable market, we have seen cabbage prices increasing to 3 Rand 35 cents per kilogram. Sweet potatoes rose to 4 Rand 8 cents. Spinach jumped an impressive 31% to 5 Rand 7 cents. Butternut declined slightly to 4 Rand 91 cents. Pumpkin prices increased to 2 Rand 63 cents. Green beans strengthened to 24 Rand 86 cents. And cucumbers surged an incredible 151%, reaching 16 Rand 21 cents per kilogram. Garlic prices also moved higher. The average price increased to 59 Rand 79 cents per kilogram, with locally produced garlic averaging 57 Rand 69 cents and imported garlic 60 Rand 54 cents per kilogram. Banana prices slipped just 2% last week to reach 8 Rand 51 cents per kilo, or approximately 153 Rand for an 18 kilogram box. The good news is that supply remains relatively low. Very little fruit arrived over the weekend, and demand continues to improve. As a result, banana prices have already started to show signs of recovery. Apple prices eased slightly to 9 Rand 8 cents per kilo, while pears increased to 9 Rand 82 cents. The outlook suggests that apples may soon begin strengthening, while pears are only expected to gain momentum from around September. Running over to our citrus market, the citrus market remains under pressure. Orange prices fell another 10%, averaging 2 Rand 48 cents per kilo last week. That's still around 36% lower than a year ago, while the volumes remain 36% higher. The story has not changed much. Large citrus crops continue flooding the domestic market, while we've got weaker fruit quality as well as sluggish export demand, which is limiting any price recovery. Lemon prices also softened this week. We have seen them go to 4 Rand 16 cents per kilo, and grapefruit prices improved to 4 Rand 37 cents. Avocado prices declined 3% last week to reach 16 Rand 95 per kilogram. The market is still expected to recover towards a 20 Rand per kilo by September. The current variety averages were the Forte at 26 Rand per kilo, the Haas at 15 Rand per kilo, the Pinkerton at 14 Rand per kilo. Looking at other fruit, the table grapes fell 2% last week, averaging 48 Rand 67 per kilogram. Pineapples eased to 10 Rand 20 cents per kilo. Blueberries experienced another significant decline, falling 16% to 72 Rand per kilogram. What are this week's ground rules? The markets could enjoy a stronger week as month-end demand boosts some buying activity across the fresh produce. But the bigger story lies just around the corner. We've got an unusually warm winter, which is accelerating crop development across several production regions. If larger volumes continue arriving earlier than normal, August and September could see considerably more supplies hitting the markets than producers are used to. And that could place significant downward pressure on prices across multiple commodities. For producers, timing will be everything. For traders, it's a market worth watching closely. And for consumers, these seasonal shifts could eventually translate into better value at checkout. Thank you for joining us for another Ground Rules Fresh Produce Market. If you enjoyed today's update, subscribe, share this episode with someone who loves agriculture, and join us again next week as we unpack the stories that are shaping South Africa's agriculture.